Thank you for all coming out, and we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, I did want to introduce our newest staff member, Amy Cloutier. She is our new office assistant. She's going to be taking the place of Rhonda. Rhonda is now upstairs on the third floor, so she's in the city secretary's office. So she's gone, but not far away. So Amy will be your new primary contact for anything planning and zoning related. So just wanted to introduce her before we get started. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Welcome, Amy.
Happy to be here.
Great. We'll move into open forum. In addition to public comment on agenda items, the commission offers an open forum whereby citizens may comment on governance issues over which the city of Nacogdoches has domain. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, members of the commission shall not discuss, deliberate, or make any decisions on topics not posted as an agenda item. Speakers should address all remarks to the commission and limit your remarks to no more than 3 minutes. And when you do, if folks are speaking tonight, try to keep that to 3 minutes unless you're a presenter on your specific topic. But is there anybody that has any comments for the account of the commission before we get into the regular agenda? Okay, perfect. We'll move into number 4, the consent agenda. And if commissioners had a chance to look over the meeting minutes from October the 10th. And if so, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes
Second.
as printed.
So moved. Thank you. We'll move into regular agenda for 5A, consideration, discuss possible action on items removed from consent agenda. Move on to 5B, public hearing. Consider a request for approval of development plan for PD plan development districts for lots 1 and 1-A and 1-B, City Block 64, located at 2827 Railroad Street. This request has been submitted by Mr. Warren Sparks, case file number PD 2022-02.
all right, thank you, Alana Helton, City Planner. Before we dive in, I do just want to remind the commission about our plan development process because we don't review these every day. So a plan development district is a unique zoning district in which we typically get applicants who want to do something a little outside the box or something that doesn't quite fit into our minimum standards in our zoning ordinance. And so this is where someone can come in with an actual plan, present it to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Council, and that plan gets adopted as part of that zoning district. So it's specific to whatever proposal the applicant is putting forward. So the first phase is a concept plan. This establishes the district and provides for general land uses within that area. The next is the development plan, which provides preliminary building locations, drives, access, to give a little bit more detail about the arrangement and type of development that will take place. And then the final site plan is more detailed construction level drawings that will be permitted with the development, and that will also come before the commission. So 3-step process. This gives you just a little bit more visual indicator. So again, concept plan gets reviewed and approved by P&Z and Council. So does the development plan, and then the final site plan will come just before the P&Z Commission. But it'll go through a similar public hearing process as we're going through this evening. So we'll do the 100-foot notices, the legal ad in the paper, and there will be another public forum for that final phase. So the phase that we're in this evening that you're reviewing is the development plan. That's that second phase. And so this is, again, for the 2 lots that's shown on your screen. They abut a private lake on the property. The concept plan for this property was approved right around December of 2021, so just 1 year ago today. And it was approved for a couple of different uses. There is an existing single-family home on the property, which acts as the applicant's primary residence, so that'll be maintained. And the applicant also operates what we call a contractor's yard on the property. So the applicant has a construction business where he utilizes big, heavy dump trucks, and they use that to lay asphalt on streets and other kind of heavy construction. And so he's been storing his equipment and some materials at this property. And so the PD basically legalize that, allow that use to be maintained, and then with a phasing plan. So a plan that phased the business out over time, so that way the property could transition back to something more residential. So the concept plan, again, was approved last year for the single-family residence and for the contractor's yard with a 10-year phase-out plan. The development plan is consistent with the concept plan, except there are some minor changes. So the one of those includes the addition of small, what we're calling cabin-style cottages. So these are 10 short-term rental units that the applicant plans to utilize as a recreational resort-type development to take advantage of the private lake that's located on the property. So the idea is that these rental units would be rented out for no more than 3 months at a time, and that the people who are staying here can enjoy the lake, including fishing, paddle boating, horseback riding. So it's almost like a little country resort in the middle of town. So that's something that's being requested with this development plan that wasn't included on the original. The cabins look something like this, what we see on the screen. These are small, little 360 square foot homes, so they're not meant to be permanent residents. Again, just a small cabin-style unit meant for temporary occupancy. The concept plan also outlined a screening fence, a mesh screening fence that was going to be installed along Railroad Street to visually screen some of the activities of the property from the residents who live right across the street on the south side of Railroad Street. So this is the proposed screening material the applicant is requesting. Part of the proposal also includes a landscape buffer area. So there's a large vegetated area between the primary piece of the property and the neighbors across the street, also meant to create some natural buffer, some screening, and just help maintain the beauty of the property. And again, this is the phasing plan. So the phasing plan was accelerated from the concept plan. The concept plan called out phasing out of year 2032. This is 2026, so they have accelerated the phasing out of the plan so that contractor's yard use will be eliminated or phased out quicker than it was anticipated with the concept plan. Next. All right. So these are photos of the property. So this is Railroad Street. And so in the upper left-hand corner, that's kind of at the entrance. And as you look at the photos, you're moving more interior to the neighborhood. So in the upper right-hand corner, that's actually the terminus of Railroad Street. So this property is at the dead end of Railroad Street. And then you see the driveway in the entrance on the bottom. This is the kind of internal circle driveway that you saw on the development plan. It shows essentially a compacted paved driveway. This will be the one that will be used to also access those temporary rental units that you saw on the development plan. These are some photos of that kind of landscape vegetated buffer area in the front of the property. So this area will be preserved, and those existing mature tall trees will be maintained by the property owner as a condition of the PD. All right, these are some images of the private lake located on the property. So this is that lake frontage, and this is the view that you'll see when you're staying at the cabins. So the cabins will front and face out towards the lake area. These are some images of the contractor yard. So these are the type of materials and equipment that's on the property today. This is actually going to be moved to a outdoor storage area. It's about 10,000 square feet. It's located on the backside of the property. So the property's elevation is lower at Railroad Street. It rises and then goes back down as it moves back towards the primary residence. And so the area that will be used for the outdoor storage, won't actually be visible from the street. So it'll have a natural screening, so they're not proposing any kind of fencing because you can't physically see that area from Railroad Street. This is an image of the office and shop that's currently on the property. Okay, as part of the notice requirements, we sent 6 notices to property owners within the 200-foot area. We actually met with and spoke to the residents that live on the south side of Railroad Street and showed them the plan. They didn't have any issues with the development and were supportive of the accelerated phasing plan. And so we didn't receive any opposition. We also got a letter this morning that wasn't in your packet, but we did print out copies and put it at your place. So it's a letter of support from Ms. Yarborough, who's the property owner immediately to the north. So if you're looking at this image, it's that red star on the top of the screen from Ms. Yarborough. So that's just an update because we didn't get the letter in time to put it in your packet.
I'm sorry, did you say where that letter is?
It's in-
We printed out a copy, and
I think it's in it.
It's-
in the-
I see it in Shannon's notebook.
Oh, behind the construction thing, okay.
Well, if Mr. Yarborough said do it, then
Did you find it, Margaret?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So the conditions for approval of the development plan are outlined on your screen. Essentially, you're looking for compliance with the concept plan and making sure that any additions are also consistent with the intent and also not, they won't have any kind of adverse impacts on the adjoining neighborhood. And so we did address those in detail in the staff report. I'm happy to go over them if the commission likes. And these are the following actions that the commission may take. So you can approve the development plan as presented. You can approve it with conditions if you find it necessary, or you can deny it altogether. Staff has recommended some conditions, including making sure that this property will also be subject to the sound requirements and lighting standards of other commercial type development. So that way, if we do have an issue with outdoor lighting or noise, then we can enforce compliance like we would on any other commercial development that's in close proximity to a residential area. So that's in addition. And so with that, staff recommends approval with that additional condition.
and that, okay, that's incorporated into this. Okay.
Yes. We did add that. And so with that, I'll open it up for questions from the commission before we open the public hearing. The applicant, Mr. Sparks, is in attendance if the board should have any questions. And with that, Shannon, I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Do my fellow commissioners have any questions right
He
now?
always looks at me. Yeah, I have some questions.
Sure.
Just general information. Is that that is Carpenterville School?
It
on the
is,
other
yes,
side,
ma'am.
right?
Mhm.
Okay, but it doesn't look like there's any access from the school to the lake?
No, that is a private lake, and there's
Okay.
actually the applicant also owns those tracks between the lake and the school. So,
Of course, it's empty now.
yes. So there,
Oh,
you're
that's the-
correct.
That's the
Yes,
old
ma'am.
school.
That's the old school, okay. Okay, I'm always struggling to figure out where these properties are.
So it's my understanding that this lake was actually part of an old sawmill historically, and that when that closed, it just, the lake has been repurposed for private use, so.
So, because it did say in the packet that the landowner owned the lake, but it wasn't clear from looking at the zone change
Mhm.
or the zoning map that he owns the other, so he owns 1300 or 2629 and these other two on the other side, all the
Yes,
way
ma'am.
around the lake. Is that
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Mhm. Except for the north side, so there is a piece of property kind of hugging that northern piece of the lake, that's owned by the Yarboroughs.
So you're talking about the one that's R3?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, does a stream flow into that lake and out of it? It looks like one flows out of it.
It is a man-made lake. There is a drainage channel that flows from the South Point across the street, and then it continues. I can let Mr. Sparks speak more to that if you like, but yes, there's a small outfall.
And there's no intention, plans to do anything with the hydrology or the drainage of the lake in or out?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can let Mr. Sparks speak to that in more detail if you like.
So the people using these, I can't really tell how far apart these bungalows are, but I guess that'll come up in the construction plan?
Yes, ma'am. Once this development plan, if it's approved, we'll come back with the final construction drawings, which will be a little bit more detailed than what you're seeing now, and you guys will approve that before he permits for construction. But the average size is about 360 square feet. The minimum building separation for these types of uses is about 10 to 20 feet, so that'll be the minimum building separation will be,
So they'll be pretty close. Thank could be pretty close.
They could be, yes. So one of the, if that was a concern of the commission, then with the final site plan, you could impose a condition that they're a little bit farther apart. But they will meet at minimum fire code separation, which is, depending on the unit, is anywhere from 10 to 20 feet. So,
So by including this recreational development in the existing PD, does that kick it into a commercial category? Or is it, when they go to get the building permits, is this gonna be following the setback rules of a commercial development or
so
residential?
it'll follow the development of the R3 district. So a portion of the property is zoned R3 or was previously zoned R3, and a portion was zoned single family. So the applicant has opted to have it comply with R3 standards, but the buildings are so interior to the property that they're absolutely going to meet, building setbacks, because the buildings are so far from all of the other property lines.
As long as they're set back from each other.
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
And what about the landscaping? That will be following the R3?
Yes, well, so the R3 district doesn't have any minimum landscaping standards. The landscaping for this development is essentially that large vegetated area in the front of the property. That's their landscape buffer that they're preserving as part of the development, which is way above and beyond anything that our commercial district landscaping would require.
I think I've run out of questions. It's up to you guys now.
You had some really good ones, so.
Well, thank you,
Well,
but
thank
most of it's for my own education,
Mhm.
so
Thank you, Commissioner
thanks for
Forbes.
being patient with me.
Any other questions? Would Mr. Sparks like to speak? We'll open it up.
I think Mr. Sparks is available for questions,
Okay.
but doesn't care to speak unless requested.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Does any of the other, if you would state your name and address, please, for the record.
Warren Sparks. My address is 2807 Railroad Street, 2827 Railroad Street, which is both parts, I own both of them.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission?
What's the timeline on this?
ASAP.
Oh, okay.
Just soon we get everything done. I have some buildings already, but I'm just waiting to get everything clarified so we can get them moved on and get them taken care of.
So I have a comment. There's a program at SFA that's, I think it's construction management, and they've just built a bunch of tiny houses out at Village Neck. Village Neck. And that seems to be very consistent with the size of these units, so that might be something of interest to you, to
Yeah,
go look at
I would
that.
definitely look into that.
Yeah.
That'd be even better.
Yeah, it might be something that, I don't know exactly what you're planning, but it might give you an option there.
I'd like to get some more information on that.
Matt, anything?
I think it's a great idea. I wouldn't mind coming out
Oh,
there, as long as they're not too close together.
No,
I agree.
think
Do
I'll
you
have them
allow
like-
dogs? That's the
Yeah.
other big question.
Yeah, I want to have them like 20 to 30 feet apart, so everybody can have their
Yeah,
privacy.
that's right.
So it'll make good use of the property, because I have to move everything away from it.
Well, I think it's a wonderful investment in a much-needed area, so I applaud you, Mr. Sparks. Is there, if there's nothing else from us, I don't think we have any other questions from you. We'll open it up for other folks to come up if there's any questions. So
thank
thank you, Mr. Sparks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments on this matter? Okay. If there's no other public comments, we'll close that. Do we have a motion from my fellow commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended PD, I guess, what's it called?
It's the development plan.
The development plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Open it up for discussion, please. No? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say no, nay. Okay, so moves.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Sparks. Thank you. The commission will move into regular agenda item C, which consider a variance to the sign ordinance for a wall sign that exceeds the allowed sign area requirements for property located at 123 East Austin Street. This request has been submitted by Titan Sign Company LLC, case file SVO 2022-02.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Elena Helton, City Planner. If this item looks familiar, it's because it is. This is the same sign variance that you guys heard last month, and moved to deny the item, and basically directed the applicant to come back with a smaller plan or a plan with smaller signs that reduce the overall size of the variance request. And so we did go back and work with the applicant. It's not necessarily reduce the size, but look at the way that they were calculating that square footage. So whenever we have a sign, we typically will look at the largest geometric shape that captures the entirety of the sign. We do allow for people to actually calculate the square footage of individual letters if they're using the background of the building as the background of the sign, and worked with the applicant to capture all of the sign area, but by using different types of geometric shapes to reduce the overall square footage, because it is an odd shape with the silhouette of the text is simple. So before, the variance request was 60 to 70 square feet per sign. It's now around 30 square feet per sign. So the sign area itself, the size of the signs haven't changed since the last request, but the way that we've calculated it has, which still falls within the definitions of the ordinance. So the overall sign area request is smaller in regards to that variance that's being opted. That being said, staff's recommendation is still the same because the circumstances of the request haven't changed. Again, we didn't find any special or unique circumstances associated with the property that it doesn't apply to other properties in the area. So that's why you see the same recommendation of denial. However, it is a much smaller overall size area variance that's being requested from previously. So I can go over the request again in more detail if you like in regards to the zoning and background. But the sign applicant is here, remote, but we also have the owner who's available in person for any questions. And so unless the commission has any questions, I could turn it over to the applicant, because I know they wanted to address the commission as well. But before we do that, do we have any questions from the commission on the request? Again, this is the same request you guys heard last month in the same size of the signs, but the overall threshold of the variance is smaller.
I was gonna ask you to kind of summarize
Mm-hmm.
the maximum allowable versus what's being proposed, and it looks like that's what this is. Is this the total of the front and side?
Yes, ma'am. So the total sign area that's being proposed is 99 square feet, which is 45 square feet more than the area permitted. And again, remember, that's based on the width of the building that's facing the street. Yes, ma'am.
So Lena, so the size of the sign didn't change. How you calculated the size of the sign changed.
Yes.
So,
And typically, we have a standard that we always follow. We don't have signs that look like this very often, so it was warranted to take another look to see if there was a different way to calculate it. And so this is what we came up with. So I know that the direction of the commission was to go back to the drawing board, come back with a smaller sign, so that way it wasn't such a great variance, but really this is a dramatic reduction, but we didn't actually change the physical structure of the proposed sign. So we did direct the applicant to take an attempt to reduce the sign again, to try to come into compliance, but the applicant opted to move forward with what you see in front of you this evening. So, and I can let them speak more to that if you like.
what was it before, Elena?
I believe it
sorry.
was,
200 and some feet. Over 200.
yes, it was almost 200 square feet. It was about a 400% increase. So this is a 100% increase, so it's better from the initial proposal.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
No?
Not for Elena.
Okay. I'm going to let Kathy, who's joining us remotely, to address the commission, and we also have Sarah. Sarah, would you like to address the commission?
I think Kathy's gonna go first.
Okay, all right.
Hi, this is Kathy Song from Titan Sign Company. Thank you so much for letting me come and I guess discuss about the other items was.
Kathy, sorry to interrupt
That
you.
wasn't discussed.
Kathy, this is
Last
Shannon.
meeting?
Could you just state you stated your name, could you state your address, please, for the record?
Sure, it's Kathy Song with Titan Sign Company. The address is 2643 Moss Rock, San Antonio, Texas, 78230.
Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Okay, so thank you again, and we do have the owner, Sarah, that's there as well. And so I just wanted to kind of address that if you look at the signage, the way the building is oriented is that the shorter portion of the building is the one that's facing the street opposed to the wider portion of the building. That's why there is a less amount of square footage allowed for the signage. And so what we did was we recalculated it, but we also want to talk about the visibility of the signage. And that, again, I wanted to mention that HTO is one of the fastest growing franchises. They have about 400 locations that's coming on board, but it's still kind of new. And so it's not as recognizable as the Starbucks location. So they need as much visibility at this location as possible. We did do some research around that area, and we noticed uh, that places like McAllister has their building is facing the North Street, and it's about 31 square footage. But we kind of did a kind of a rough estimate of the signs, and they have approximately about 170 square foot of signage there. We also did the KFC over there. Their uh, building is facing North Street as well at 34 square feet with an approximate square footage of 148 feet. Combined, Taco Bueno has about 34 feet with an approximate square footage of signage. Signage 114 feet. Starbucks is at 31 feet with 85 feet. Jack in the Box is 31 feet with approximately 85 feet. And same thing as McDonald's. So they actually have more square footage on their signage, which is very similar to HTO. We are requesting that as well. And then, and then we want to talk about the advertising aspect of it. A lot of times when people look at, when they're advertising, we consider, signage as the advertising portion of it. So the people that are driving on the streets is what they will see. And I know in the last meeting, we did talk about how, if HTO goes, and most people in Nacogdoches will know HTO and they'll go. But from our experience with signage, that's really not the case. We noticed that by driving and just constantly just looking at it and being, because it's not a recognized logo, when they're driving, they'll become curious and then they'll enter the location. Otherwise, a lot of the advertising has to be done in print media, and they'll need to spend a lot more additional money to advertise that location. I also want to talk about the hardship because that was one of the things that was mentioned in the ordinance, which is if you look at the building sign, or the building itself, if you look at it, the way it was built is based on, if you look at the wooden panels, so the owner spent um, additional investment, making that, the whole wooden panel look a lot better to make the building look better. And that's actually kind of a standard for the HTO brand. And so a lot of the buildings look like this. And if you look at it, it's also to enhance the signage. And so without that, it looks kind of empty and it doesn't really match the other locations. So they've, instead of making it just a flat that matches that on the right, a lot of additional funding was spent on the additional wooden panels. Um, so I think they will definitely experience financial hardship. And then another thing is because if we can't put that logo, Texas logo on here to meet the 54 square foot requirement, then what they'll need to do is they'll need to they're not really following the HTO brand. And so they'll need to kind of rebrand, and then they'll need to spend additional money to maybe on design of kind of new logo or more advertisement. So they will definitely experience hardship regarding the signage out there.
I have a question,
Sure.
if you're done.
Yes.
So, being that there are several of these stores going up, I would imagine that the sign is, made in some kind of mold. I don't know, I guess you've got a template and you're cranking them out.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much cost is involved in making a smaller version? Because it's not just as simple as cutting out a smaller version, I'm asking you what the process is and how much it would cost to redesign that and make it smaller, to fit all the
Sure.
units.
Sure. So the process, I mean, yes, take out that portion, to redo all of the design files, to redo all of the production files, to make it, go into the equipment. We use a routing machine to set up the signage in there. So the whole process really changes based on the change of the design of the logo.
So you don't have a number off the top of your head, a dollar amount, approximately?
I don't
Maybe I'm
really have,
putting you on the spot, sorry.
but I don't know. We reset up and everything, maybe about 6,000 to 7,000, maybe additional.
To make the sign smaller.
Oh, not to make it smaller, but to reset up everything, redesigning it, getting it approved, redesigning it. I mean, production set of files, putting it into our machines, all of that, because all the machines are machine cut.
Kathy, it looks to me like if you would just leave the sign off one side of this building, that you would be very close to the requirements. And that doesn't seem to me to be such a hardship, that instead of it being on 3 sides, it would only be on 2 sides. 2 sides of your choice, I'm assuming. So is there some, you haven't thought about that or discussed that?
Sure. So I'm going to let Sarah kind of mention, but we did notice that in the, over by the road that's coming. So they definitely need to have a signage in that main, the opening, the main doors. So they definitely need signage there, but also have signage at the, so if you look at from that crossroad, because that's where there was research that's been done that Sarah will discuss. But there are about 23,000 to 25,000 people that come from that the road that's going towards east, that's going east towards HTO, opposed to 12,000 to 13,000 on the other side. And so when they stop,
I don't know what side you're talking about.
The one facing North Street.
oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
one facing
that's a
North Street.
busy side, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the side,
Yes.
but the other side is not particularly busy.
Yeah, that's just our entrance.
Yes.
That's where people will walk into the building, so.
Yes. Yes, and the reason why it's oriented that way, and that's where the main door is because a lot of the HTO locations are busy, and they wanted to, we want to do the traffic a certain way when they're passing through, so it's not causing a lot of people stopping on that road. So that's why the entrance is on the other side, and the orientation is kind of, built that way, so that traffic's a lot better in the flow, basically. So definitely they would need that main signage on that entrance.
I'm still confused.
Oh, sorry. Maybe Sarah could explain that better.
Yeah.
If you can state your name and address, please.
Sarah Carthel, and address is the building address or my address?
Your address.
Okay, 580 County Road 2153, Nacogdoches. Mhm.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you guys for your time and for your devotion and your, everything to the city of Nacogdoches. We love Nacogdoches, and that's why we want to invest in this community, and that's why we've done it. I think it's hard when Kathy's talking to really, she doesn't know North Street, she doesn't know Austin Street. I went by there and drove by there. That fire station is right in the smack middle of everything, And so as you're driving by North Street, that's kind of our situation. If you're headed south on North Street and you're looking over at our building, Austin Bank is right there. You're looking at our building, and it is just a empty building. You're not going to be able to see the pylon. You're not going to be able to see the front of ours. So as we went through all this and looked at all the different sites. This was one of the sites that we looked at and went through with Ed Poole and talked about everything. He said, this would be great because of that draw from North Street. Right now, the traffic counts aren't what we need them to be on Austin Street. The traffic counts are on our North Street, and we all kind of know that. We've got to draw people from North Street and have enough time to see that sign and make that turn. If you get up to that intersection as you're headed south, and all of a sudden look and you can see the pylon there, you're not turning around to go, oh, there's HTO, let's go back and get it. You're traveling on down to McAllister's, who, you know what I'm saying, who has tea and has all their stuff. But that's kind of what we're looking at, and we feel like that our main reason for choosing that location was just the visual. And a lot of times, if that was a Starbucks, everybody knows you don't have to put anything on it. You can just put a itty bitty little sign and everybody goes there. Our brand just isn't there yet, and we need that marketing, we need that brand recognition out there so that people can go, oh, there's that HTO, and have time, especially on North Street, to make that turn. So I went by and I took video and I took pictures and everything today. Walgreens, even going north from on North Street, going north, you're looking and you can't see the front of the building. Walgreens has all their landscaping and everything up there. You can't see five cars back at that light. I looked over and you couldn't see the front of the building. No pylon, no front of the building. And so all you could see was side of the building on that side. And so I was like, well, you get all the way up there and you're second in line, yes, you can see all the way down Austin Street.
Well, I understand that side that faces North Street, that makes sense to me. It's the other side of your building that makes no sense, frankly.
On the Austin side, we're
No, not on
coming
the
from the
Austin
Austin.
side. On the
Pecan Street, the Pecan
whatever
Street
that,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever that
I
little
think-
street is.
Well, right there where we oriented the building, making it narrow in the front and then long. First of all, the lots were already that way. They were kind of narrow and then long. We had to get two of them to even make the parking work. And the way that our business is gonna kind of work is that, people can come up. If you guys wanna get your 5-gallon buckets of water for your office or anything, you come and you park, and our, employees will be running out there and putting stuff into your car and loading it up, filling up your coolers with ice, whatever. Kind of have a loading area there. So we didn't want it in front. You put that entrance in front and now you're parking and everything is over on the side. So you kind of needed that entrance on the side. And again, that's just the entrance where people would be walking in, to a building. Just that, to me, aesthetically and visibility wise, just looks a lot better to have them all, done. Like the other buildings that Kathy has mentioned here today, Kentucky Fried Chicken, McAllister's, who just went up 4 months ago, has all three sides. Their orientation is exactly like ours, narrow in the front, long in the back, and you just have to get that visibility out there from as much places as you can. That's what we're trying to do. Because to me, so go ahead.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
you go.
I just feel like visibility is going to be a big thing, especially for such a young franchise, and just that logo of being able and imprinting it and just being the pioneer for this franchise business. Just to be able to get that out there to the consumer. And that was one other thing I was going to say. I think there was mention at one time, maybe in the other meeting, that Nacogdoches, small community, 35,000 people. Everybody's going to know HTO once it opens, 2 to 3 months. And I hope you are correct. I hope you are correct. That's our goal. But 35,000 isn't going to be enough for us. We are going to have to, and I think the city, and I know we will send that. I think Kathy has submitted it. The Economic Development Committee had a couple of years ago brought in a Catalyst commercial to do pretty much a daytime population study here in Nacogdoches. Their daytime population study was, yes, with the residents of 35,000, but during the day, that population went up to about 111, I believe, 111,000 people here from outside employment, visitors, tourists. So, yes, people that live in Regay, on Regay Street, my son goes to Regay Elementary, teachers and everything, they're going there. Yep, they're going to see they're going to see HTO every day. But the tourists and the employees that are kind of going, just blowing through on North Street or anywhere else aren't going to see that. And so that, I mean, that's 70,000 plus people that we really are gonna need to be drawn into that area, so. That was the other thing we did, but I thought that was pretty cool that all of a sudden, 100,000 people are in Nacogdoches during the middle of the day.
It's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
So can you say something about the role that the pole sign plays? Is that something that maybe could be forfeited?
The pole sign, the thing that we like about that is just a marquee sign, you know, that's there. Hopefully, you know, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the store here at all, seen the construction side of it, but there's there's a sign out there already that is put out there to kind of get some marketing buzz going about a research center for copperhead snakes. I don't know if you guys have seen any of that. Yeah, you can blame,
So,
that guy right back there for that.
so we've gotten lots of phone calls about the new rattlesnake. Thank you. That's been awesome.
Here's the funny thing, I think 50% of those people are really gonna be mad that it's not a research center, it's gonna be a tea store. Oh, so, but, I don't know really what my point was at that, but it was just one of those things that we can hopefully get a little bit of fun, maybe with the community, with those marquee signs. I don't know if you've seen on social media and things like that, hey, we might throw some shade over to, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or throw some shade over to, you know, just something like that, just to kind of get the fun and the community going. It's just a fun thing to kind of get everybody excited about businesses in general in Nacogdoches. And so the marquee sign has been something that we've always been excited about, being able to, you know, say, hey, congratulations, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so, or hey, it's Teacher Appreciation Week, or hey, you know, Veterans Day, or, you know, our, you know, whatever we would like to put on there for that, so.
Well, regardless of the outcome here today, I thank you for investing in the community and doing what you guys are doing. I know it's a big expense, so.
Yes.
I have a question for Elena. Are these businesses like McAllister's, did they receive a variance, and are they in compliance with these numbers?
So McAllister's actually has frontage on North Street and Bonita Street. So it's bounded by two different streets, so it gave them more sign area because they had two street frontages. So that's the distinction between those two.
And what about Kentucky Fried Chicken? Was that
It-
before we had this particular
Grandfathered, I
sign?
believe.
It's non-conforming. It is not, you could not build that today.
Okay.
So absent the side street, there's really no differentiation to it.
So if you lost the sign at the entrance, you would be well within compliance?
Well,
That sounds like.
they'd be closer. They certainly would be close.
Let's see, each one of, they're all three the same size, right? Are they all three the same size?
Not quite.
So sorry, I'm just tripping on myself. So these numbers, sorry, there's some typos on the screen. So the front one is 37 square feet, and the two sides are 31 each. So combined, it's 99. So the one on the front that faces East Austin is slightly larger than the two on the sides.
Yeah, if they lost one of the sides.
If they lost one, they'd be really close.
they'd be
Yeah,
really
they would be
close.
much closer. So, and again, I'm sorry, you see these numbers, they're kind of switched. So the side one's 31 square feet, the front one's 37.
But at least that's doable. Before, it wasn't really even doable.
Yeah,
Now
so-
it's-
Yeah.
I think the most logical one to lose would be the one to the east, but that's your entrance.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the actual kind of site plan layout exhibit that was submitted for the sign plan. So this shows you, that A1, that's that one that's on the, I guess you'd call it the east side. And then the yellow is the west side, and then that orange is the one out front facing East Austin.
Well, it's the entrance, but it's not necessarily the one that you'd see driving by.
I think by the time you pull in, you already know that.
You
you're
know,
going
yeah.
there. But, and that they would lose a little exposure from the westbound traffic on Austin, but I don't know. It's a tough one.
Sarah, do you have
Can I make
anything else? Or Kathy?
Yes, I just want to make a comment that HTO Corporate, it's kind of one of their requirements to have a building sign on the entrance. I don't think we've ever built signage on any of the HTO locations where the building sign is not on their entrance area.
Well,
Mhm.
Can you speak to that, Kathy?
Oh, what was
Not
it?
Kathy, I'm sorry. Can you speak to that?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes, I can. I mean, I haven't been to every single HTO location, but you can definitely look them up and on their website, all the locations have their HTO sign walking into it. I mean, this is the first time, like we said, this is the first time even Kathy said that. She was like, this is kind of new territory. Usually it's one of those things that, is just done. So we're kind of, off guard just a little bit, especially with, submitting the plans and everything a long time ago. In our minds, we were like, man, we wouldn't have done all the woodwork on all three sides had we known, that it was gonna be something that we had to, work with or at least know. So, and I know that's two separate different things and everything as well, but in my mind, I'm like, if I'd have gotten a heads up at the city, approving the plans, I would have been like, okay, let's check with, everything before we go boom, 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 and let's get this, because to me, that wood makes the building look a lot better. I mean, that composite siding is just, it's really, really sharp, but it's very, very blank if there's nothing on it, and so,
So you're a franchisee.
yes, I'm a
So-
franchisee.
So you would need to know whether corporate is going to allow you to open without a sign there.
We're
or
gonna be
you have to
having-
make the signs smaller.
We're gonna have to be going back and applying to them and trying to get something out of all them as well.
I can make a comment on that one. Is it okay for me to make a comment
Kathy,
on
hold
that one?
Kathy, hold on
We-
one second. Kathy, hold on one second. Our city planner needs to say something, please. Just one-
I do just want to clarify that we did have a pre-development meeting for this site prior to even submitting any kind of permitting or construction plans, and went over the sign code and what those regulations were, asked for preliminary drawings. We didn't see these sign plans until after the building was already permitted. So just wanted to clarify that. I've also worked with multiple franchises in multiple cities. Every city has a different set of sign codes, and I've never seen someone not build something or not
Okay.
build a sign because the city asked for something that was different than their typical standard. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, go ahead, please.
Like Sarah mentioned, it's a very young franchise, and so over probably hundreds of, about 100, I think, of the HTOs, and we've never put a sign where not on an entrance. So I'm about 99.9% that because they will not allow that. So I think they definitely, and that was one of the requests that they've had since kind of at the beginning, and so the A1 would have to probably.
Yeah. Kathy, I appreciate that. You understand, though, we have rules and regulations here that we have to kind of adhere to.
Yes, I know.
So,
Yes.
did you ever get a chance to come visit our city?
No, not yet.
Well, hopefully you
If
will
I
sometime.
go there, will Sarah get all three signs on the bill? I'll definitely go.
Door on all three, there's a door on all three sides. Does the entrance have to be on that side?
Yes.
According to these pictures, there is.
Those are windows.
Oh, it's a
Windows, like a
drive-
drive-through
Oh,
window.
okay.
it's a drive-
Excuse me.
Kathy, we're always promoting Nacogdoches, so.
If you do come, if you do
I'll
come,
go
come and say
there,
hi.
buy some tea, and then bring it to you guys. Or even buy some Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well, let's make sure that say you're kidding, so the FBI and we don't get investigated.
Oh,
for,
I'm kidding.
Quid pro quo here, so, thank you. No. Okay, is there any other, Sarah, do you have any other comments? Okay, is it,
Thank you, Sarah.
thank you. Are there any other comments from the public on this item? Okay, we'll close it for public comment. And anything else, Elena?
No.
Do we have a motion on this?
It's a really big waiver. It's really hard to justify that much waiver. you do one, then you've got to do everybody's, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger over the time.
Any motions? I'll make a motion to approve the variance as stated.
I'll second it.
Is there any other, open it up for discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No,
Okay, so noted.
All right. And just to clarify for the record, that was a 3-to-1 vote,
It was a
correct?
3-to-1 vote.
All right, so motion passed.
Can I just add that it's not just about the size for me, my vote. It's more about the aesthetics. And I think that the aesthetics make this acceptable, for me personally. I
I-
understand that's a.
I agree, and I
That's just my personal opinion. I
I-
wouldn't necessarily do the very next one the same way if I didn't think it was attractive and would enhance the community.
I share some of the same sentiments as Commissioner Carroll. I mean, this is a very difficult one. It's a great investment on a piece of property. I think we all know what was there before, so it's nice to see the investment in our community, and I absolutely would love this business to be successful, so.
If I can add, the aesthetics that we're looking at are brilliant. I love it. And we talked a lot about whether or not there's undue hardship. And something that I think about is when we talked to Kathy about the cost of redesigning, she said $6,000, but I know anytime I've had to go and contract any kind of design work or repair work or anything like that, it usually inflates as the project goes on. And at what point does that become the hardship? So I am glad to see that we're moving forward with this.
Thank you. We'll move on to where are we? 5D. Consider a variance to the sign ordinance for a freestanding sign that exceeds the maximum allowed height requirements, maximum sign area requirements, and minimum sign setback requirements for a property located at 4919 Northwest Stallings Drive. This request has been submitted by Morgan Oil Company. Case file SVO 2022-03.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Elena Helton, City Planner. This is another sign variance request for Morgan Oil. This is a gas station, but it's also a travel center. It has separate dedicated pump fueling lanes for heavy freight vehicles. It also has on-site shower facilities. So it is a step above your typical gas station because it does specifically provide amenities for drivers of heavy freight vehicles. The applicant is requesting a brand-new freestanding sign. Our sign standards for pole signs are based on the street frontage. So the street frontage for this property is approximately 470 feet. That does provide for a maximum sign area of 300 square feet. That's our overall max, regardless of the street frontage. And so the proposed sign area is 749 square feet, which is, again, much larger than that. The height of the sign is 118 feet. Our max height is 50. And then the setback is based on the sign height. So the taller the sign, the further setback it has to be from the roadway. The applicant is requesting, again, a sign height that exceeds the minimum. And so this has to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission for review. And again, these are the sections of the ordinance that apply. So section 78-101 specifically applies to property that has frontage onto Northwest Stallings and Southwest Stallings Road and provides for different accommodations as far as increases in sign height and sign area. And so these are the sections of the code that apply. These are some photos of the property as it stands today. So you see the Morgan Oil fuel stop. This property is actually sold to a new user, so they'll be putting up new signs. They'll be maintaining the smaller sign that's on the lower right-hand corner, because those are really for the people who are at the station fueling up. But it's the fuel stop, the one on the left side, that's going to be replaced. That is actually a non-conforming sign today. It's right on the right-of-way line, and so that sign in of itself could not be built, cannot be rebuilt today where it's located. These are some additional photos of the property from the street. There's a fenced-off area that stores their fuel tanks. And so this area, again, is along Northwest Stallings Road. This is the area that is included in the I-69 update. So this is in that section of the loop that will be upgraded to interstate standards. Last year, the Planning and Zoning Commission, I think a few of you were on that board. If you might remember, we did a similar variance for TA Express, which is just catty corner of the property. It's another travel service center. And the rationale was that with the upgrade in I-69, it really is going to increase not just the general traffic counts, but the overall traffic counts that we see for heavy freight vehicles, which require a longer time to slow down and navigate lanes. And so the idea was increasing the visibility of these specific uses actually increases the overall safety because it gives the driver more time to navigate and change lanes in order to make the exit. And so that was the rationale used for that variance. It's a similar scenario that we're looking at right now. This is actually a smaller sign. It's about 200 or 300 square feet smaller than the sign that was approved last year. And so based on the circumstances and the changes in the roadway that are coming with the I-69 improvements, that's why staff is recommending approval, because we find that's a unique circumstance that sets this intersection apart from other parts of town. We wouldn't approve this variance for property on North Street or South Street or something like that. And so with that, these are the conditions for approval. Staff does find that there is a unique circumstance that applies to this property in that intersection that's sets it out or sets it apart from other intersections in the community. And again, the commission may approve the variance as presented. You could approve it with conditions, or you could deny the variance. The applicant is in attendance, or the applicants are in attendance. The commission should have any questions, but again, these are the specific variants that are being requested, and staff is recommending approval of those. Margaret, you look like you have a question.
I do, but I was gonna wait for.
You go ahead.
Okay, so we all know this is gonna be an interstate soon.
Mm-hmm.
And does the Interstate Commission or whoever oversees things like this, do they have sign ordinances or recommendations? Because it seems like we should be revising our own sign ordinances for anything in this view shed to fit, you know, the traffic that's gonna be there.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So it's my understanding that TxDOT doesn't have any specific sign standards. They default to the city standard. There are some minimum roadway setbacks. Essentially, what we did is we asked them to move it back at least the height of the sign itself. So if it were to fall, it wouldn't fall in the roadway and create a safety issue. Thank you. Life, health, safety. It's hard to say all together, which is what we asked the applicant to do with the variance last year. I will say that this I-69 corridor, part of the comprehensive plan that we're working on right now is an I-69 corridor plan, which will include recommendations for development standards and standards that will essentially inform the look and feel of I-69 corridor. I'll also tell you that after the comp plan is approved, we're going to be looking for recommendations for overhaul of our development codes, including the sign ordinance. And so you're absolutely right. There will most likely be recommendations for things like sign height. I will say that it's not uncommon to see these types of signs as far as the scale and height along other major interstate corridors. They're just different because it's a different traffic pattern. Right. So to answer your question, I don't know if there's actually a state division that has its own set of standards. It's my experience they default to whatever local jurisdiction that they're in.
So just clarify for me, the variance here is about height, not size.
Well,
You
it's
said
about
this is
height,
small.
area, and setback. So this sign exceeds the minimum sign height, which is 50 feet for all signs across the board. It exceeds the sign area, which our maximum is 300 square feet, and it exceeds the setback requirement. And so,
It's set back too far or not far enough?
No,
Not-
it's
not-
going to
not
be
far
set
enough,
back.
yeah, so
It's height and setback have to be at least equal or greater,
Right,
so.
yeah, the sign code requires that for every foot tall your sign is, that's to be 1.5 feet set back from the back of curb. This is 118 feet tall, and they were proposing it 100 feet from the back of curb, and we asked them to move it at least the height, so it's 118 feet back of curb is where it will be located.
Is this sign any bigger than the sign that we approved across the street?
It's actually smaller. So it is similar height, but it's smaller in overall sign area.
So the total sign area is 750 and our ordinance is 300?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Relative to 50 feet though, so but yes.
okay, so that doesn't really take into account if you go higher, you gotta go bigger? Okay.
And I will tell you, when these sign codes were first adopted, there was no consideration for I-69 and that corridor being improved to what it's going to be. So I anticipate that regardless, our sign codes will change specifically for properties that are fronting along that roadway. I don't know how much they're going to be increased, but I assume for different types of uses, there'll probably be some exceptions for different sign regulations.
And the one that was previously approved, how high was it?
It was, actually, we put it in your packet.
Thank you for babysitting me.
Yes, it's 120 feet, so this is 118 feet, so just it's a 2-foot difference.
So what is this 92 feet on the page 47? Is that the existing sign?
92 feet.
The center of the sign to the edge of the roadway says 92 feet.
It's the height up to the,
Oh, so are you looking at this image here, Margaret?
No, I'm looking at the one with the blue line.
Oh, so that's the package for the sign variance that was approved last year for the
Okay.
property catty corner, yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
where the Denny's.
I just wanted to provide it for reference to show you
Thank
guys
you.
what we did with the last one.
I think Ruth and I were here for that one. So.
Yeah.
Oh,
Any other questions, Commissioner?
thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up. Does the applicant want to present anything, or are they good?
The applicant did have a photo, but we weren't able to open it up on our laptop, so he'd like to pass it around to the commission.
That's fine. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, sir.
Mark Morris, 30 Buchanan Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Yeah, welcome to Nacogdoches.
Thank you. Nice town.
Yeah. So you have some pictures you want to?
Yes, just
Share
kind of
with us.
showing the feel of everything. I had sent several pictures, but they're not able to be downloaded, so I wanted to, may I approach?
Absolutely. We're not a court, so we're just,
May I
we're
approach the bench?
we're everyday citizens just trying to help out.
This is the sign that was approved before. I think you already have a picture of that.
Yes,
When you come up the
yes,
highway,
I know
it's
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're,
very visible.
I think most of us know the area really well.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And this is a billboard that was put right in front of the store advertising the TA, which actually blocks the store signs, which
Wait,
is
where-
very convenient.
I'm sorry, where is this?
That's going, is that going north? The billboard? It's going south. Going south?
Southbound,
Yes, the TA's across the street on the other
Okay.
side.
so is that sign just north of the store? Okay, so it's in between you and the RV
never go
place? and-
that way. I never go past that intersection.
When you're driving,
Oh,
west,
yeah.
you see it, and you can kind of see the canopy behind that blocks
Okay.
all the signs.
I
They
think
got
I
you here, didn't they?
generally know where this is.
next to the
It's a mess,
trailer
it's a
park.
mess.
Next to the trailer
That's,
park.
that's
Yeah.
the, that's the main
Yeah.
picture.
The one that we had last
Yes,
time.
right.
I'll say this,
That's
if,
the main.
if you're selling diesel for that price that's shown on this screen, you're gonna have a line out the door right now.
That's the
so.
idea.
I may be one of them.
I just want to further add that 4 years ago is when TA came in, and we've lost about 20% in sales because people are stopping there. And the rule of thumb is people know where they're going before they get off the highway. So once they get there, they're not looking over, they're deciding as they're driving. So it's really been a hardship. We're just trying to get be competitive. If you don't have competition, the price is what the price is. If you have competition, you're able to adjust prices and try to get the best for our consumers. We just want to be able to give the customers options. Been there for 40 years. This has changed the landscape of it. And it is an interstate, and I agree that when semis are going down the road, you want them trying to change lanes at the last second and things. You want to give them plenty of notice. And sometimes billboards help that, but we just respectfully request a variance on this one, so we can at least compete on an even playing field, and actually a little bit smaller.
Well, my first career, I officed in the Highway Patrol office just north of there, so I understand trucks braking, dangerously, so.
Exactly.
Does anyone have any other?
One thing I was asked about was we are gonna improve the site, paint it up, change some different things, make it more friendly, consumer friendly as well.
Thank you, sir.
Some
Thank you.
landscaping?
Landscaping? I don't think, because of the trucks coming, there's not a lot of room to do an awful lot.
It's all concrete.
It is landscaped in the front where that Morgan sign is gonna come down. And that's a big grassy area, and then there's another one over on the other side. But there's also needs a lot of access for these trucks to turn around. So it limits us a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on it? Okay, well, we'll close public comment. And do we have a motion?
I motion to approve it.
I'll second. And we'll open it up for discussion. Is there any discussion? No, thank you. Okay, we have a vote. Will all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. So carries. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I believe that is all that we have for this evening.
Is it everything?
So just an update on the council decisions on planning and zoning cases. On October 18th, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the request for historic overlay for property at 701 Cox Street. They also approved a request for the specific use permit for the manufactured home sales on South Street that you guys approved. And they also approved the amendment to the specific use permit for the RV park. It's actually right down the street from the property that you guys approved the variance for. So they did approve all of those items.
Well, we must be doing something right. Great. We'll move to Agenda 7, discussion possible action on future items, agenda items. A planning and zoning member may inquire about a subject for which notice has not been given. A statement of specific factual information or the resuscitation of existing policy may be given. Any deliberation shall be limited to a proposal to place a subject on an agenda for a subsequent meeting. Do we have anything? If not, do you have anything, Meg?
Did you say you were gonna send us the enrollment information for the planning?
Yes, I'm going to have that for you before the next meeting. I'm still working on how to
just didn't know
figure
if I
that account
missed it.
stuff out. Yes, ma'am, sorry. I saw that in your eyes. I knew this was what you were going to ask me. I was like, yes.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn.